So good morning, and this is the final part of our six-part compassion meditation for during this Saka Dawa. Saka Dawa officially the month ends tomorrow, which is also the day that it so happens this year that many people celebrate Father's Day. So day to recognize the kindness of fathers. So wishing all fathers, my own father, and then all the other fathers that I have in my life, including, the spiritual fathers, wishing them all healthy, happy. And so you should also remember to do that. So we will start this final part of these compassion meditation with the opening recitation. So please look at the opening recitation. And there are basically two texts, right, for this program. One is the opening and dedication recitations, and then one is the main practice. So let's start with the opening. First, I'm going to read in English and you can listen. Then next, we're going to chant together, or if you want to join in the chanting, you can join the chanting. Otherwise, during this time of chanting, contemplate the meaning of the words that I'm going to read now. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in a state of the most perfect and precious awakening. Thus, until I achieve awakening, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until awakening is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all migratory beings. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. This ground, sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, four continents, sun and moon, I hold in mind as a Buddha land and offer it. May all migratory beings experience such a pure land. Dala Dawa Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Geg Darbadan Tam Je Kempe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tam Jegi Zu Jebe Mha Nankadang Nyambe Senjen Tam Je Dewa Dang Den Dunyao Dang Nirdu Lana Mepaya Dobra Zobe Chanju Rinpoche Dobra Jan Dala Dawa Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Tarba Dang Tam Je Kembe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tam Jegi Su Jebe Mananka Dang Nyambe Senjen Tam Je Dewa Dang De Dungao Dandu Nidu Lana Meba Yang Dabra Zobe Chanju Rinpoche Dobar Jan Dawa Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Tarba Dan Tam Je Kembe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tam jegi su jebe ma nang ka dang nyam pe sen chen tam je dewa tam de dung ao dan de nu du la na me pa yang ta pra so be chang ju ren po je to pra je de zang ma ge ge bar du long a yi sum ge wa la go ma she bar du long a yi sum ge wa la go du dereng ne sun te ni ma sang ta sang yi bar du long a yi sum ge wa la go sang yi jo dang so ge jo nam la chang ju bar du da ne kyab zu ji da ge jin su ge be so nang ge dro la pen che sang ge dro pra ju sang ge jo da so ge jo nam la chang ju bar de da ne kyab zu ji da ge jin su ge be so nang ge dro la pen che sang ge dro pra ju sang ge jo da so ge jo nam la chang ju bar de da ne kyab zu ji da ge jin su ge be so nang ge Drala Penches Sanje Drupra Nanga Dang Nambe Sanchen Tamche Dewa Dang Dewe Gindan Dempra Gyuchi Dungyao Gyudan Dewa Gyuchi Dungyao Bebe Dewa Dame Dewa Gyuchi Nering Chadang Nidan Dewe Tanyang La Nebra Gyuchi Nanga da nyambe senjen tamje dewa da dewe gindan dembra gyurji dungyao dang dungyao ji gyudang dewa gyurji dungyao mebe dewa dhamme dewa gyurji nering chadang nidang dewa tamnyang la nebra gyurji manang kadang nyambe senjen tamje Yang dewe gindan dembra gyurji dungyao ki gyudan rewa gyurji dungyao mebe dewa dame rewa gyurji neding chada nidan rewe tanyang la nebra gyurji Zaju baju jushing metodram Rira linji ninde gempa de sangye shin la mide bulwa ye Rago namda shindu chopra shu. Just allow both body and mind to settle into their own places. Think of body and mind to be like a pond in the middle of a forest. And think of all the activities, the normal movements of body and mind to be right like the ripples that are created on this pond. When a leaf falls into it, when a branch breaks and splashes down, or when an animal comes by and wades in it, or fish inside swimming, causing ripples. But relate to all movements of body and mind as simply these ripples, knowing that the ripples arise from the pond and back into the pond, they will subside. So let all the movements of body and mind subside back into this pond, back into this space, without exerting any effort, but instead, just get out of the way. For just like the ripples in the pond, which will not stop if you try to do something to stop them, but will stop if you do not further agitate, but simply let be. So let body and mind settle into their own places. Instead of doing, stop doing. And just be present. Enjoying the quiet of the pond, the quiet of the forest. Unperturbed. And even eventually being able to see that whatever ripples that arise is no problem at all. They're simply part of the nature of water, of the pond, of the forest. When conditions are right, certain ripples appear, some stronger than others. Inevitably, when the conditions are no longer there, the pond becomes quiet again. The forest becomes quiet again. Let your body and mind be like a still forest pond. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, simply be present. In this state of natural presence, bring to mind the understanding of what is suffering, what is the cause of suffering, how suffering can end, and the way to put an end to suffering. Recall the Buddha's fundamental teachings as presented in the teachings of the Four Noble Truths. Then with regards to the Four Noble Truths, be sure that you understand that the first noble truth is not just the noble truth of suffering, but that you have to recognize what suffering is. You have to not turn away from seeing what dukkha is. Even lean into it, don't run away from it. Don't be afraid to feel dukkha, the weight of dukkha, the weight of suffering, the weight of dissatisfaction, the weight of stress, the weight of the unsatisfactory nature of all phenomena. Do not turn away from it. Recognize it, realize it, see it. The reason why we continue to carry around this weight is because we have been distracted from fully understanding this weight. We have been distracted into thinking that this weight is necessary when in fact it is not. So look directly at dukkha, at suffering, at unsatisfactoriness. Recognize this dukkha, recognize how heavy it is. Then recall that the Buddha taught that dukkha has a beginning. And that which has a beginning, therefore, will also have an end. And the beginning of dukkha, the beginning of suffering, is grasping, it's craving. It's the not enough mind that constantly says, not enough, not enough. The not enough mind that gives rise to the craving mind, that gives rise to the grasping mind, which is the root cause of suffering or dukkha, is the result of the mind having gone out instead of recognizing its own nature, its own Buddha nature, its own divine nature. Instead, this mind that has gone out is the one that says, not enough. This not enoughness then leads us to try to find something to fill it. And no matter what we find outside of this mind, we'll never be able to fill the mind to satisfaction. Because the nature of mind is without limit. How can that which is without limit reach satisfaction? It cannot reach satisfaction. It cannot be filled by attempting to fill it with other things. But it can spontaneously be fulfilled when it recognizes its own nature. Understand this. Understand the cause of suffering. And resolve to abandon it. To be done with it. To say, this is enough. Once we put it down, we let it go, even just momentarily, we get a taste of the cessation of suffering, the end of suffering. Experience that. Experience the freedom of letting go. Experience how light it can be when we no longer carry around this dukkha, this suffering, even just momentarily. For once we have tasted momentarily how light it can be, then we will resolve that complete and full waking up, just as the Buddhas of the 10 directions of past, present, and future have woken up, will wake up. We too can wake up and be Buddhas. And to do that, we will develop the path, the method for waking up, which is the fourth noble truth. So recognize the first noble truth, abandon the second noble truth, experience the third noble truth, and develop the fourth noble truth. On the basis of directly understanding the Four Noble Truths, not as abstract ideas, but how the Four Truths unfold in our own minds, in our own hearts, in our own lives. Then we begin to see that if we ourselves do not like suffering, want happiness, then the other, which is infinite mother sentient beings as kind to us as our mothers and our fathers have been kind to us, recognize that they all too want happiness and do not want suffering. And if we compare our importance to the importance of basically infinity minus one, that which is not I is infinity minus one. And if we reflect on this, we see that our own personal desire for happiness and freedom from suffering pales in comparison to the welfare and the needs of all mother sentient beings. And recognizing that, we see the necessity of working for the happiness and well-being of infinite mother sentient beings. And knowing that the only way to truly benefit them is to help them all achieve the state of Buddha. Therefore, then we resolve to practice the path to awakening, to ourselves become Buddhists for the benefit, for the welfare, for the good of all. So much so that we should feel that other than the necessary things such as eating, sleeping, and defecating, other things are not so important as practicing the path to awakening. So we turn away from distractions and try to just do that which we need to do to maintain this life, so that this life can become the basis for us to achieve freedom from suffering and complete manifestation of all the divine Buddha qualities within us, to be our primary focus. With this motivation, with this great vow, this great aspiration, we now begin the main practice, the sadhana, known as the visualization and recitation of the great compassionate one. So please turn to page 1 of the main practice text. Whereby we take refuge and we once again arouse, generate this bodhicitta mind, this commitment, this vow, this aspiration to achieve the state of Buddha for the benefit of all, for the good of all, for the welfare of all. This resolve, this vow, this aspiration, the power of this vow, the power of this resolve will manifest, will arise as the deity of love and compassion, which is Avalokiteshvara. So on page 1, just listen as I read the English, and then together we can chant in the Tibetan. To you 3 jewels and 3 roots, all you sources of refuge, I go for refuge. To establish all migratory beings as Buddhas, I give rise to supreme bodhicitta. To the 3 jewels I go for refuge, I confess each misdeed and non-virtue, and rejoice in the virtue of migratory beings. I will also be mindful of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly, I go for refuge until awakening is reached. To fully accomplish the benefit of both self and other, I generate the awakening mind. Having generated the supreme awakened mind, I will serve all sentient beings and delightfully engage in the supreme deeds of the bodhisattvas. For the benefit of migratory beings, may I accomplish Buddhahood. Namo Kunjo Sundang Tawa Sun Kyabne Namla Kyabzu Je Drogun Sanje Lago Jir Chanchu Chodo Zemke Namo Kunjo Sundang Tawa Sun Kyabne Namla Kyabzu Je Drogun Sanje Lago Jir Chanchu Chodo Zemke Namo Kunjo Sundang Tawa Sun Kyamne namla kyabzu ji drogun sanje lago jir chanchu jodo zemge no gunjo sumla nagyam ji dimba mige sozor sha drove gela jeyira sanje chanchu yegi sun sanje chodang sokjola chanchu bardu dagyam ji Ranshen Duni Rabdu Jir Chanju Zemni Kebarangi Chanju Jogi Zemni Kegine Semchen Tamche Dagi Dundunir Chanju Jojo Yivon Jebaragi Trala Penchir Sanje Drupra Shu. Next, this bodhicitta, this resolve to awaken as Buddha for the benefit of all, will manifest in the form of the great compassionate one, the Lord of the world. You will manifest, arise as the great compassionate one, the Lord of all, the Lord of the world, the protector of the world. In this practice, you will appear as 7 Avalokiteshvaras. The central one is the embodiment of the absolute bodhicitta, the absolute aspect of bodhicitta. And the 6 surrounding Avalokiteshvara is the embodiment of relative bodhicitta, which is love and compassion that is directed at wishing for all beings, resolving that all beings be free from suffering and achieve happiness. In other words, becoming Buddhists. Thus, let your love and compassion and wisdom manifest in all places, in all 6 realms of confused existence. The absolute aspect of bodhicitta is the aspect of wisdom. The relative aspect of bodhicitta is the aspect of love and compassion. These 2 aspects are inseparable, 2 sides of the same coin, 2 sides of the same hand. So I will read the description of these 7 Avalokiteshvaras. And as you hear that, please allow these 7 Avalokiteshvaras to arise and recognize that this is the embodiment of your absolute and relative bodhicitta. I am the great compassionate one, white in color, with 1 face and 4 arms, with palms together and holding mala and lotus, legs crossed, adorned with jewels and silks, seated on a lotus and moon seat. Om Mani Padme Hum. Then seated surrounding the central Avalokiteshvara are 6 other Avalokiteshvara. The first one in the northern, what's known as the northern direction, but basically in the 12 o'clock position, seated there. And then the next one in the 2 o'clock, and the third in the 4 o'clock, the fourth in the 6 o'clock, the fifth in the 8 o'clock position, and the sixth in the 10 o'clock position. Visualize white-colored Lord of the world of the God realm, with one face, 4 arms, palms together, the other 2 holding a veena and a lotus, seated cross-legged on a moon. Om Swaha. Then visualize green-colored Lord of the world of the demigod realm, with one face, 4 arms, palms together, the other 2 holding sword and armor and a lotus, seated cross-legged on the moon. Om Ma Swaha. Visualize multicolored Lord of the world of the human realm, with one face, 4 arms, and palms together, holding mala and lotus, seated cross-legged on the moon. Om Ni Swaha. Visualize smoke-colored Lord of the world of the animal realm, with one face, 4 arms, palms together, the other 2 holding a scripture and a lotus, seated cross-legged on the moon. Om Bert Swaha. This is the Avalokiteshvara that sits right behind the central one at the 6 o'clock position. Then visualize red-colored Lord of the world of the Preta realm, the realm of the hungry spirits, with one face, 4 arms, palms together, holding a chest box and a lotus, seated cross-legged on the moon. Om Me Swaha. Finally, visualize black-colored Lord of the world of the hell realm, with one face, 4 arms, palms together, holding fire and water and a lotus, seated cross-legged on the moon. Om Hung Swaha. I'm going to chant in Tibetan. You can follow, or you can just rest in allowing the 7 Avalokiteshvaras to arise. Rani Duje Jimbuni Garbo Shaji Chashiba Teoja Dringwa Bema Zing Gyudrung Rana Dargige Bema Dawe Denla Shu Om Mani Beme Hong La Yi Jigden Wangju Gar Shaji Jaji Teoja Dan Piwan Bema Dawe Ding Kyumo Chungi Suparasam Om Soha Lamin Jikten Wanju Jang Shachi Jiangsi Teojardan Gozon Pema Dawe De Kyumo Chungi Suparasam Ma Soha Mi Jikten Wanju Shachi Jiangsi Teojardan Trengwa Pema Dawe De Kyumung Chungi Tuzu Parasam Om Ni Swaha. Dundra Jingden Wanchung Du Shachi Jiashi Teojardan Puti Bema Dawe Ding Kyumu Chungi Suparasam Om Ped Swaha. Ida Jiten Wanchu Mar Shachi Jiashi Teojardan Jumbu Bema Dawe Ding Kyumu Chungi Suparasam Om Me Swaha. Jiden Wanjuna Shachi Jiangsi Teojarda Mechu Pema Changna Zi Kyumo Chungi Suparasam Om Hong Swaha. Thus, in the heart center of the principal deity among the 7 great compassionate ones is a 3 syllable on the moon seat, surrounded by the 6 syllables. In the heart center of the surrounding 6 other Avalokiteshvaras are also their respective seat syllables, such as Om and Ma and Ni and Bed and so forth. And each of these syllables are also surrounded by the 6 syllables. As I chant the Mani mantra, you can choose to join the chanting, at which time you can visualize and feel light pouring out of the heart centers of all 7 Avalokiteshvaras. This light pervades all directions, going to all beings everywhere, particularly the 6 Avalokiteshvaras. Their respective lights go into each of the 6 realms of existence. And the central Avalokiteshvara, the absolute bodhicitta, the light of wisdom, brilliant and bright like the sun, pervades all 6 realms, clearing all obscurations, clearing all darkness. Then each of the Avalokiteshvaras in the 6 realms, in the 6 directions, imagine the light pouring out of their hearts, of the syllables in their hearts, like the moonlight, cooling and pacifying, embracing all beings with love and compassion. Keeping that experience of light going in all directions to all beings everywhere, you can join in the chanting of the mantra. Or if you prefer, you can just listen and mentally chant. And then in that case, you can use each of the mantra to direct your breath coming in and going out. With each Om Mani Padme Hum, it's either one inhalation or an exhalation. Inhale Om Mani Padme Hum, exhale Om Mani Padme Hum. As you hear the first Om Mani Padme Hum, imagine that this Om Mani Padme Hum is entering you through your nostrils in the form of breath. And this is Avalokiteshvara, the actual Buddha of love and compassion's blessings, entering us, purifying our breath, bringing in this life-giving breath, this burst of energy to awaken body and mind, so that body and mind is bright and beaming, with clarity of mind, with health of body, strong and luminous. Then with the next Om Mani Padme Hum, as the breath leaves your nostrils, breathe in and out through your nose if you can. As breath leaves your body through your nose, think that with that breath, all beings are blessed. As that breath leaves your body in the form of Om Mani Padme Hum. Breathing in, your sympathetic nervous system is balanced. Breathing out, your parasympathetic nervous system is balanced. When our sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system are both in harmony, then body and mind will be in harmony. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. 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 Continue to listen to this call of compassion. Hear the mantra as Avalokiteshvara's call to us to give rise to love and compassion. Hear this mantra as also our response to Avalokiteshvara's call to compassion. This mantra is both the call of compassion and a call to compassion. pe me hong om mani 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 pe me hong. So let's see if you have any questions or comments up until this point of the practice. And if you don't, and if you need to stretch or to go to the bathroom, now is a good time to quickly step up. But I will stay here and see in case there are questions or comments. This will be a good time or something to share, you know.
Doctor, I have a question.
Yes.
From the last session, I was wondering about the color of each one of the Avalokiteshvara, especially the color of the human realm that is multicolored. Can you do you have any comment or any? I was wondering about the color, the significance.
Yes.
Please. Thank you.
Sure. Jose is in Chile, Santiago. Hello. Yes, the color of the respective Avalokiteshvaras here is actually a little unusual. In other practices that involve like the 6 realms, the colors are not quite this particular set of colors. Like for example, even in the Om Mani Padme Hum related to the 6 realms, the color for each of the syllable, the more common one, is different from this practice. From this practice, I have not learned of any particular significance. Not to say that there isn't, but my own knowledge on this particular sadhana and why the particular color assignment to each of them is a little different from the more regular one. I have not received like specific instructions on why. But if we look at white and then green, right, and then multicolored, and then gray, and then red, and then black, yeah. There is no kind of clear reason. The white and the green does correspond with the more usual list. The multicolored in the human realm, who knows, maybe we can think of it as, in the human race, In the human realm, there's, superficially we say, there are so many skin tones, then we say, oh, white people, black people, brown people, yellow people, maybe multicolored in that sense, but there is no explicit explanation given. So I think in part it is to train us to have a sharper. Why then specific colors are mentioned? Beyond the potential symbolism of the colors themselves, I think to assign a color to each of the Avalokiteshvaras is to help us have a more clear image of each of them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Lai, there are a couple of questions.
Yes, sure.
One is, would this be a good practice for daily meditation?
Oh, absolutely. 3 times a day, 6 times a day, once a day, once a week, once a month, to whatever degree you are able to do this, of course, it's very good.
And there is another one, just an observation. I experienced this visualization as like a fractal. If you extend it out infinitely, the 6 Avalokiteshvaras around the central, and each of them have 6 surrounding them, and each of those have 6 surrounding them, and those have 6 surrounding them, etc., and so on. Is that an incorrect way to visualize this?
No, it's good. It's good.
And another one, does the green color of the demigod realm have any relationship with green Tara?
No, not in any direct way. Then red, right? Normally red is with like the lotus family, and then of course we say Avalokiteshvara is lotus family, but normally the form of Avalokiteshvara is white in color. So they don't always, it's not a rigid system. Sometimes I think we make the mistake of thinking that everything is, because everything can be described so seemingly so exact, so clear. I think we misunderstand the exactness. The exactness is not that necessarily across all contexts it will be the same. The exactness is within each practice. The instructions given can be very exact. So they will say, no, the Avalokiteshvara in front is white in color, not purple. But that exactness is so that we have a clear reference point. So what it is really training in that sense is training sharpness of mind, related to shamatha, sharp and stable. So actually developing both shamatha and vipassana, sharpness and stable are the 2 qualities, shamatha and vipassana. Is sharpness is vipassana, and stability or weight is shamatha.
And another one, is there a connection between the mala of the main Avalokiteshvara and the mala held by the one in the human realm?
Okay, no, direct. In fact, the one holding mala is the most common way that Avalokiteshvara with 4 arms are depicted. So since it's most common, I mean, you can kind of think of it, then the reason why in the human realm and in the central one is holding a mala, it's because we are most familiar, right, with the Avalokiteshvara that holds a mala. So maybe, if there are Buddhas teaching geckos, teaching geckos how to meditate on Avalokiteshvara, maybe the form of Avalokiteshvara there holds, something else. Then they will say, you know, and when you visualize Avalokiteshvara in the center, you know, it holds, you know, a broom. And then when this Avalokiteshvara turns up in our realm of geckos, he is also holding a broom. Meditate in this way. That would be geckos getting teachings on Avalokiteshvara, perhaps.
One more came in.
Mm-hmm.
In the visualization of the Avalokiteshvara from the hell realm, is
Mm-hmm.
the fire and water held in separate vessels in his hands or flowing freely?
Oh, up to you. Up to you. So this is a good time for me to go through. Last time I just mentioned the principle. So let's go through. So the 6 Avalokiteshvaras in the 6 realms, 3 of their hands are doing exactly the same thing, which is the 2 primary ones hold a wish-fulfilling jewel. Actually, not explicitly mentioned, but the principal hands, the one in the heart is called the principal. These 2 are the extra. The principal hands hold like this. They're holding the Mani mantra, actually, which is absolute and relative bodhicitta in the form of a jewel. So it's not palms together, really, even though the words say like that. It's not flat palms together, but held like this, you know, like holding a precious jewel. So all 7 of them, the principal hands are held like this, right? Then all 7 of them has a lotus in the left hand. Then the lotus, again, is a symbol of purity, as in lotuses grow in the mud, but they are not touched by the mud and the dirt. And so this is wisdom. This is absolute bodhicitta in another context. In the context of bodhicitta, wisdom is the absolute aspect of bodhicitta. Then right hand. And on the right hand, this is where the 7 have different things. Well, except the central and the human is mala. But basically, they hold different implements. So the first one, the God realm, holds a veena, a beautiful sound instrument, a string instrument, Indian string instrument, a veena. And veena is a string instrument. And so there, because gods are very distracted by pleasure and, you know, happiness, so then they don't pay much attention to the Dharma. So then Avalokiteshvara appears in the God realms, playing the guitar and attracting them in a way that is most appealing to them. So this is an expression of how bodhicitta appears in the God realm, where people are obsessed and addicted to pleasure. Then Avalokiteshvara uses the way of veena. Then in the demigod realm is holding sword and armor, right? And why sword and armor? Because the classic description of the demigod realm is that they are very contentious types. Due to deep-seated jealousy against the gods, they're very contentious. They like to fight. They love fighting, right? So then Avalokiteshvara, recognizing this is their style, this is what they'll pay attention to. So then Avalokiteshvara comes with a sword and a shield. Even the sword and shield, if you want to further kind of look into that, right? You can see how the sword is like to cut. That's the wisdom. The shield is to protect. That's the love and compassion. Then in the human realm is the mala. And I say like the mala, it means like unendingly, bead after bead after bead, right? It never stops in that sense. So continuously, love and compassion flows. And in the human realm, it is said that our afflictive emotion, so in the God realm, it's actually pride. Pride that then, makes them feel like they don't need to pay attention to anything. They are just having a jolly good time. And they're so proud of the jolly good time that they're having. So as I say, these 6 realms don't need to even wait until next life. In this life, we can see all 6 realms within our own neighborhoods and within our own mind. Sometimes we are so caught up in the pride of like, things are going so well for me. And we cannot understand, why other people cannot be like this. Why other people aren't, like me, successful, law-abiding, following all the rules, making it in the world. That's the pride of the God realm. Or if we have the jealousy of the demigod realm, we just cannot get over the fact that other people are doing better than us. It is so unfair. That other people are happy. We become so jealous that even if we are materially rich, we are still unhappy. Then we see people who don't have much having such a good time. We say, these people have no idea what happiness is. Our jealousy can be so destructive. That's the demigod realm. So then we get contentious. With people who have more materially, we are jealous of them. With people who have more in a non-material way, we are also jealous of them. So that's the demigod realm. The human realm is said to be the principal afflictive emotion is desire. Desire here, the next one, later another one is called greed. So greed and desire is somewhat divided here. In that desire here, I think you can think of it more as like almost like a addictive kind of ambition. You want to achieve this, you want to achieve that, you want to do this, you want to do that, just not enough, You feel like I need to do this, I need to achieve that, I need to succeed here, I need to, all that kind of. So here, it's not necessarily that you want other people's things or you want other people's lives. There is more the preta realm, the hungry spirit realm. So here, desire in that way. So desire that is incessant. It goes on and on and on. Then when you get one, you want next, you want next, you want next. It's never quite enough. So in that way, the mala, the mala can be so, if you, it just goes on and on and on. But here is the love and compassion that goes on and on and on and on. Yeah. A certain neediness, desire in that sense. Then in the animal realm, it says here, right? Avalokiteshvara there holds a scripture, a text. So that symbolizes knowledge and wisdom. Why? Because the animal realm, classically, it is said that they are under the power of stupidity. Here, stupidity, you're like, oh, somebody called my cat stupid. No. Your cat, in some ways, is very intelligent in ways that we are not, Your dog, Chewy, is very intelligent in some ways that we are not. So when we say that they are stupid, we don't mean, like human standards stupid. And of course, we're like, no, it's not nice to say people are stupid. But it is literally that word, stupidity. But what it means is, it's the way that how animal realms, in modern terms, we say that they are incapable of being moral agents. If you want to look at it from a physiological point of view, their brains are not developed enough, right? That's the technical side. And then we say the karmic side makes it such. The brains are not developed enough so that for the most part, they are not capable of being moral agent. And so when people kill a tiger, because the tiger has attacked humans, well, I mean, it's terrible, but the tiger, should not, be killed because you think, oh, you have been bad. The tiger is incapable of making moral decisions. And so what runs their lives? Instincts. The minute hunger comes up, they need to satiate it. The minute thirst comes up, they need to satiate it. The moment, the desire to reproduce comes up, they need to do it. And no breaks at all, right? Again, within our lives, we see sometimes we turn into that. That's when we can say, you're behaving like a beast, meaning you cannot make these moral decisions. And so there's scripture, book in the sense of developing that ability. And so Avalokiteshvara appears in the animal realm with this scripture. Yeah. Then in the realm of the hungry spirits, preta, right? Avalokiteshvara appears with a chest box, which is treasure. Why treasure? Because the realm of the hungry ghost is always hungry, not enough. Oh, more. Oh, more. Right? You want more. It's described, it's said that in the realm of the hungry spirits, people's stomachs are huge as a mountain, and their necks are as thin as needle. And imagine how insatiable that kind of greed is. And that comes from poverty mind. Not enough. To the point of needing to take other people's, what other people have, we want. At all cost. We will go for it. So there Avalokiteshvara comes with a chest box, meaning like a treasure box. Ironically, it is said that in the hungry ghost realm, some of these hungry ghosts have great treasures, but no matter how much treasure they have, it's not enough. So again, this is the kind of hunger we're talking about, thirst that we're talking about. Again, we can see this in our world. We can see this in our own lives. In that sense, that's more important. Actually, all Dharma teachings, is pointing to our own minds. In the end, we're not talking about animals, like your dog or your cat, In the end, we're not talking about some god with halos, floating around somewhere out there. That may or may not, be the case. That's secondary. Primary is pointing to how these qualities of minds, how these six realms, we cycle through. In one moment, we can cycle through six realms. That's where the power of Dharma is. If you ask me, it's treating your own mind. Dharma is not a substitute for modern physics, modern science, modern mathematics. That's the analysis of the material world. Yeah. That they are very sophisticated knowledge that is being developed in that world. To the degree that when Dharma teachings talk about, things that are outside, It's just a mirror held up, a method held up to turn it back and look inside. What is this mind experiencing? So then sometimes this mind falls into the hells, into the hell realm. And in this hell realm, the classic description is that there are the 8 cold hells and the 8 hot hells. So sometimes our hells are so hot and burning, and sometimes our hells, are so cold and so stuck. Tremendous pain that arises from either hot or cold. And so Avalokiteshvara, the very embodiment of absolute and relative bodhicitta, appears there, right? Appears there with fire and water. For those suffering the hot hells, water to cool down. For those suffering the cold hells, heat to warm up. So this is the meaning of these, what's held in the hands. Again, this is not talking even so much about cosmology and all the things that exist. It's pointing to our mind, pointing to our experiences, pointing to our afflictive emotions, pointing to what we become, what we cycle through. The definition of samsara is to cycle through. To cycle through, to recycle through again and again and again.
Thank you, Dr. Lai. There's 3 more questions and 1 comment.
Sure.
The comment is, but animals can experience love and show love.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, we're not talking about, actually love, Love is one thing. Love is one thing. I'm saying moral agents. So you can never take a dog, by our legal standards. You cannot take a dog, and try to indict it for making the wrong moral choice. And even the tiger, if you take the tiger to court, you can, again, I'm talking about, modern, our legal standards, right? If you take a tiger to court for having killed someone, you can only on the basis of saying, because you are a danger, we have to somehow contain your danger. But you cannot say to the tiger, you made a bad choice by biting the guy, because tigers cannot make moral choices. Yeah. Next.
Next, what is the afflictive emotion of the hell realm?
Oh, yes. Anger. Wanting to harm, wanting to hurt. Wanting to harm others. Yeah.
Next here, when we practice Deity-Yoga, there are times that elements of the visualization brings recollection of different teachings. Could we do this on trying to focus on certain teachings at a time? Or just see what teachings pop up, or not try to conceptualize anything?
Yeah, well, if the teachings come up at the right time, then it's good. Deity-Yoga sadhanas are compact with many possibilities, right? How I am explaining it and how I'm emphasizing it now is one way. It's not exhaustive. Yeah, so no fear. But the general advice is, of course, if you get carried away by, thinking about the teachings, then come back, during the meditation time, you want to stabilize that. Yeah.
Another one, can we visualize the sound of the Mani mantra resounding in the 6 realms while visualizing light manifesting from all?
Yeah. That you experiment. Yes. Don't worry about it. You experiment.
And then the last one here, can you explain the relation between absolute and relative bodhicitta with the parasympathetic and sympathetic system?
I mean, that's just my creative, giving you a little bit more to kind of relate to, because of how. So I don't know if I can, relate exactly. My point is just that if you align, right, that. And why I brought up the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems is related more to breath. I want to introduce to you to become more sensitive to the power of your breath and how you have to take good care of how you're breathing. And so from even more contemporary research, but then this, of course, in the Buddhist text, in Hindu texts, in Taoist texts even, aspects of this have been known for a long, long time. That breathing through breath particularly, and then more specifically, even breathing through the nose, is an important element in maintaining good physical and mental emotional health. And like, duh. But actually, it's so crazy that nobody ever, I don't know, like nobody in like mainstream science, bother even to take any attention about it until now, It's like, what? You mean breath is important? Just like on the other side, it's like, what? You mean like learning something about your own mind is important? Are you crazy? If you tell your friends, oh no, this weekend you're going hiking, you're like, no, I got to go attend this class on, learning about my mind, learning about breath, people give you a funny look. And they're like, but they are so essential, So when we look at breath, and using vocabulary that are more contemporary, because that's more convincing for us, If it was 200 years ago, then maybe I'll talk about, more about, gods and demons. But now, so this is like Avalokiteshvara. I'm not saying that I'm already Avalokiteshvara, but I'm trying, just as you should be trying. So just like Avalokiteshvara appearing in different contexts, holding in hand what is most effective, I think one way of effectively kind of communicating is to look at it how, so our body, the way our body works is that we have these two types of nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic, right? The sympathetic nervous system is the fight and flight, meaning when faced with danger, right? When faced with what we recognize to be a threat, right? Then two possible things. We bulk up to fight, or we lean down to flight, right? So this is all very very invigorating, very energetic, but also very draining. But it has its place to play. It has its role to play in a healthy body-mind system. The parasympathetic is the one that is at rest, the one that allows that nervous system that goes to a place of rest, feeling spacious, feeling like not needing to fight, not needing to pick fights, not needing to defend, right? So that's the parasympathetic. Now, in I think contemporary society, last class I talked about, especially with the rise of social media and how much we're relying on it, I think our sympathetic nervous system is out of whack. It's constantly, what's the word? It's constantly being stirred up. We are more naturally relying on the sympathetic nervous system. We're constantly feeling like we need to run or we need to fight. So much so that now this is very shaky now. I don't claim this is science. The way I think, so much so that I think this is also the cause of our physical ailments, when our natural defense system goes overboard. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, like I'm learning, like with COVID-19 and with many other viruses that come into our body, in the end, it's not the virus that actually kills us, but it's our defense system going overboard, trying to battle the virus that has entered, and that's apparently what usually kills us, So I'm not claiming any science here, but I'm saying if we use this to think about, right, what can happen when the sympathetic nervous system goes out of whack, then the balance that we need is gone. The balance that we need is gone. And so then we need to find ways to restore that balance. Then I would say, when the parasympathetic works well, right? That is like when love and compassion is working well. No, when the sympathetic is working well, sympathetic nervous system is working well, then that's like love and compassion working well. It will not be exhausted. You will not have fatigue, compassion fatigue, love fatigue, Zoom fatigue, right? This is very fashionable to talk about, this fatigue, that fatigue. But when it's working well, when love and compassion is working well, working right, how does it work well? It works by being informed by wisdom, clear seeing. So the clear seeing, in that sense, you can analogically think it is like the parasympathetic. So the parasympathetic, which is the one that is open and relaxed, it can work well and it can work not well. When not well, it can actually give rise to like lots of like hallucinations. You're so open and spacious, that you begin to hallucinate and have no control over hallucinations. Generally speaking. So there's some research going on now, with people with like who have, like mental illness that causes them to hallucinate a lot. There is some research now going on, I know, where they are taught certain techniques of breathing that will kick in more of the parasympathetic, more of the sympathetic, the fight and flight. Somehow that kind of tightens the kind of the wrong way of being spacious, so to say. So it's a complex topic. I use this together as a way to provide us analogies for thinking about and relating to. I make no claims about any scientific connections that can be proven. Not that I'm afraid of you suing me. I'm just telling you I don't have much expertise in any of these scientific topics. In Dharma, I have a little bit. Yes.
Doctor?
Yes.
I have another question.
Oh, okay.
In relation to a previous question I had in previous session, at the moment you choose sadhana to practice. I was wondering, in first place, you want to be meaningful for you.
Yes.
Okay. But at the same time, you want your the sadhana you are practicing be very auspicious or
inspiring.
Yeah, but has inherent meaningful power. Okay.
Yes.
So there are two aspects.
Yes.
The inner motivation you have to practice the sadhana you are choosing, and in the other way, the power that the sadhana has in itself.
Yes.
Can you comment about these two aspects before? I think that if you have the right motivation, that would be enough. But in the other side, the sadhana may have in itself power in itself.
Yes, yes. So a good match is what you need. Yes. So your motivation, your desire, your wanting to really practice and to develop, and then finding the right sadhana, and for that matter, finding the right spiritual path is finding a good match.
When you say the right sadhana, what are you thinking?
Oh, it's you, not me.
No. When you say finding the right sadhana, you say you're meaning
right as in it's a right match for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now, of course, there are sadhanas that don't have the proper arrangements. Like things that people come up with, and that's why in a more conservative mode, we say you need a proper lineage, you need the proper empowerment, you need the proper instruction. That is to ensure that at the minimum, it's not a sadhana that somebody just decided to put together and say, okay, now you do it, right? So that's why sometimes we say, the longer the sadhana has been in existence, the better, because there's a reason why it has lasted till now, right? It's like you if you sell a product and it's not good, it's not going to be around, right? 10 years later, 100 years later. But certain things, it has come down to here. So that means, it has been tried and tested to be true. So that part. But then, just because that is tried, is tested to be true, no guarantee it's a match for you. And also the match for you at a particular point in your life that evolves, that changes. So you have to be flexible, finding this match.
Dr. Lai?
Yes.
Some months ago, someone asked you when was a good time to meditate, and you made this suggestion. You said there's no particular time, but sometimes it's very useful and helpful to do it early in the morning. And personally, I found that to be very helpful. So the question that I have for you is, what other suggestions might you have for the specifics on how one should build a daily practice?
First, don't be so hard on yourself.
Why?
Not you, just anyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. First, don't be so hard on yourself. Be inspired that having a daily consistent practice is really good for your mental, emotional, spiritual health. Be inspired of that. Don't forget that. Then don't be so hard on yourselves, and try to establish one. At the beginning, go slow. Of course, at the beginning, when you're inspired, you don't want to go slow. You want to sprint. But of course, if you sprint, after 2 days of going to the gym or sprinting, you have injured yourself. So then you can't go for a week. After a week, you're like, I don't know. So you want to you know, I know it's not easy, but, you know, you want to kind of slowly build it up. Then again, don't be so hard on yourself. Now, the don't be so hard on yourself. You have to look, you know, at that statement. Any statement can be turned the wrong way. Don't be so hard on yourself. You know, if 10 years later you are still saying, "Oh, Han says, don't be so hard on yourself," there is a problem there. I have met people like this. One of them was myself. Now, you know, finally gotten out of that. That they will always find that, like, you know, oh yes, just, and then meanwhile suffering, you know. Meanwhile having a miserable time, and then thinking, oh, my life is not right because of this, because of that. Maybe I'll try this technique, maybe I'll try that Lama. Oh, this, I don't have connection with this person. Oh, I need to go find another person. Oh, I need to find another sadhana. Oh, I need to, oh, actually now maybe I'm Sufi, you know. But the main problem is, you know, too committed to, oh, don't be so hard on myself. That can also turn into a problem, you know. So, very general advice.
To piggyback off of that,
Yes.
there's I think Patro Rinpoche said, you know, you should practice like an animal, how an animal eats, like a feel, like with no regard, just whenever you feel like it, like keep eating. Do you have any comments on who the intended audience for that point is, and how to?
You experiment and see if it's intended for you, you know, and then you tell me. You know, too much chocolate, you know, it's like blech. But then, you know, what is too much and what is too little at the beginning, right? You really need to figure that out, you know. Then at some point you sort of surrender that to, when you're ready. Nobody can push you to that point. And I always say to people, don't rush into this, because rushing doesn't help at all. At some point, if you make the decision, I'm going to recruit, so to say, I'm going to rely on a guru. Then you have to start listening more to the guru. Prematurely listening to the guru won't work either. Then you're not doing the work that you have to do yourself. Then at a certain point, when you are going to rely on a guru, then you need to pay attention. What the guru says, directly or indirectly, it's very possible that something is being communicated. And I'm not even saying that the guru, you know, like every time before you turn up, the guru is planning, I will indirectly say this, I will directly say that. No, it's the interdependence. So they say, you know, like when you are authentically relating to someone as a teacher, as a guru, in their presence, you should not be too casual, too relaxed. Even if the guru says, oh, relax, you know, you understand, yes, this is guru's kindness, this is guru's advice, and you maintain a certain degree of mindfulness, awareness around, so that you can benefit from the encounter. But then if primarily with that person, you're just like, I like hanging out with them, well, then just hang out with them. That's not your guru, you know. It's entirely fine, you know. I mean, if the other person would like to hang out with you as well, you know, don't use the excuse of, you know, this person is the guru just because you want to hang out with them. Then you have perverted what the role of the guru is, you know. But first, you know, take responsibility for, try it, you know. And then even when you fail, even when you get burnt, you know, it's a learning. It's part of that learning. And they say, like, child development, you know, Asian parents, you know, are so protective. then the children don't learn how to safely take risks compared to Western parents. They allow their kids to take risks and figure out where the safety lines are. And so overall, they say, you know, kids raised in the West tend to know better, you know, where the dangers are. Same, I think, with even Dharma practice. You can think in those terms. Okay, now, I did say that I should say a few words about the praise, right? The content of the praise, starting on page 9. I said that on the surface level, so today we will go over our usual time, so be patient. If you have commitments you need to go to, please go. This is recorded, you can watch it again. So the praise here, you know, on the surface, it is like a very devotional. You're praising Avalokiteshvara's Pure Land, you're praising Avalokiteshvara's body, speech, and mind. And then the final praise that says that even the hell realms, you know, are now turned into Avalokiteshvara's Pure Land. So on the surface level, on the superficial level, I guess you could say that, it seems like this is like praising Avalokiteshvara, like you would praise God or Jesus or Allah or Krishna, you know. But actually what's going on here underneath is instructions on pointing us to the nature of our minds, the nature of phenomena, the nature of everything. But in the Buddhist tradition, we're not so concerned, or the primary method is not so much investigating the nature of things. To the degree that we do investigate the nature of things is so that that investigation can lead us to investigating the nature of mind. So it comes back to, again, investigating the nature of mind, so that this investigation can give rise to an understanding about how our mind is. And that is where we become free, you know. So here on page 9, quickly, it says, in the realm of Avalokiteshvara, where good and bad are not two, non-dual. Here, good and bad is not talking about skillful and unskillful actions. Here, good and bad is talking about our preferences, our likes and dislikes. So then, more generally, we like pleasure, we like happiness, we don't like pain, we don't like suffering. Of course, that is innate, yes. But ironically, in order to be free from suffering, we have to develop an understanding whereby we are not bent out of shape when suffering turns up, when pain turns up. And we are not hooked and addicted when pleasure turns up, when happiness turns up, right? So when we start the path, it is because we want happiness and we don't want suffering that we enter the path. But when we enter the path and make enough progress, then we need to develop the courage to not be so driven by simply wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. We need to then have a more mature attitude to happiness and suffering, so that we can begin to see what is the causes and the nature of these two experiences. Then we learn that it is a lot of it, if not entirely, due to our habitual ways of labeling experiences that turn up, labeling people that turn up, labeling conditions that turn up. Oh, this is good. Oh, this is not good. Oh, this is like this, I don't like. And then we begin to understand, oh, actually, happiness and suffering, the very reason why I even started, is not really in and of themselves things that are out there, but it's the labeling that I have become habitually conditioned to label that gives rise to these two categories. So when we arrive at the realm of Avalokiteshvara, we see this clearly. This is the meaning of this line here. This is not, oh, when I'm enlightened, then it doesn't matter what I do anymore. That's not what it means, right? Then appearances are without true existence, existing only in the manner of illusions. Appearances here are talking about what appears to the eye, what appears to the nose, what appears to the ear, what appears to the tongue, what turns up, meaning all our sensory experiences, including our minds and what our minds think and experience. These are all appearances. So all appearances, all experiences have no true existence, meaning they don't exist from their own side. They exist in relation to our karma, our projections. So that's why blue cheese can be so tasty to one person and so, yucky to another person. If you have been with me to Southeast Asia, you have walked by a durian fruit, Oh my God, for some people, this smells like, someone's outdoor toilet that has not been cleaned. But to so many other people, oh my God, this is the king of fruits. This is all our respective karmas and our respective projections. So that's what it means, no true existence. No true existence doesn't mean that they absolutely don't exist at all, but they do exist, existing only in the manner of illusions, meaning they turn up, they manifest due to shifting, unstable, constantly changing causes and conditions. And therefore, do not be so rigid in relating to them. So within a state that is naturally pristine and without fixations, pristine here is the Vajrayana equivalent of emptiness in the Sutrayana context. So it's not talking about some kind of, purity, like angels are really pure, Pristine means, no basis for suffering to actually latch onto. It is said that naturally, this is the state of everything. And therefore, no way, if fixation is a hook, this hook has nothing to hang on to in space. Hook, try to hook space, wherever you hook, it cannot stand. And it's the boundless and pristine realm where attachment and aversion are self-liberated. Attachment and aversion are self-liberated. What does that mean? It means like the moment attachment or aversion arise, because of the wisdom, it dissolves. Self-liberated doesn't mean, right now your attachment and aversion, without doing anything about it, it can all go away. If that was the case, we would now have been Buddhas for a long, long time. No, we have to purify. You purify them so that you arrive at the state where attachment and aversion is self-liberated. Spontaneously. Yeah. So then it says, to your realm, great compassionate one, I praise and pay homage. Next, the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness. So now specific to the body, speech, and mind of Avalokiteshvara. And this serves as a model, as an analogy for how we relate to our body, speech, and mind. So in terms of physical form, not only our body, but the bodies that we relate to, the bodies that we perceive, the bodies that we smell, the bodies that we touch, the bodies that we taste, all physical form, whether ours or that of others, know that they are emptiness and appearance indivisible. This empty nature of appearances is like reflections of a moon on water. And so within this understanding, you know, all forms, all physical forms are self-liberated. Appearing vividly, but no essence. And we can achieve this realization too. Next, sound. Same quality. You can hear sounds vividly, but they don't have independent essence. Then, the third, page 12. The empty nature of clarity is like the color of rainbows. Clarity here is talking about the power of the mind to perceive, the power to know. This knowingness, this quality of knowing, of perceiving, of being aware is boundless, hence empty. Empty is another kind of poetic way of saying boundless. Boundless and empty is referring to the same quality, without limits. But it's clear. So seeing this clear nature of the mind and the empty nature of the mind is recognizing the nature of mind. Then when we have this, when we know this, when we can realize this, then on page 13, then even the molten lava ground of the hell realms turns into the realm of Avalokiteshvara. Then even all the, terrible torturers that appear in the hell realms that torture people, the bull-headed one, the horse-faced one, and the bull-headed is called Ava. Even they turn into the form of the great compassionate one. Then even the sounds of the hell realms that are normally experienced as, people saying, all these demons saying, kill, kill, strike, strike. You hear them all as the call of compassion. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Then all the weapons that they, use to torture you, you experience them as offerings. This is like Siddhartha, under the Bodhi tree. When Mara sent his army and hurling weapons, right? When they arrived, they landed as flowers. Right now, when we don't understand the nature of appearances, the nature of our minds, when people hurl, a butter knife at us, we turn it into, a chainsaw that is turned on. People just throw a butter knife at us. We transform it into a chainsaw. People light a cracker, we turn it into an M16. That's how we create suffering, But when we understand the nature of appearances, the nature of our mind, then even these weapons of torture, we can experience it this way. Now, this one, you don't use this to go tell other people, hey, come on, lighten up. People suffering. Your response to people suffering is, how can I relieve your suffering? Not how can I lecture you? This is for our own work. Our own work. So to you, the great compassionate one of existence and appearances. Existence and appearances is a Buddhist technical term that means everything, both in the aspect of the way they appear and the way they exist. The way they exist is always empty of essence. The way they appear is momentarily, vividly, temporarily. This dynamic play of emptiness and form. Recognizing this, I praise and pay homage. Yeah. So this notion of paying homage, yeah, this notion of paying homage, the real homage that we are paying, right? The real homage that we're paying. When we talk a lot about paying homage, you know, but what to again? This there is some instruction on, you know, when you say pay homage, pay homage, pay homage, right? What should we really be looking at? What should we really understand? Is to understand what is it? Who is it that is paying homage? Yeah, who is it that is paying homage? And paying homage to what? And what is this act of paying homage? And so this is related to understanding the nature of experience, understanding nature of mind. So then, when we have recited this, yeah, when we have recited this part, then we dissolve, we just hold awareness, and we meditate on this nature. So let's at least pretend to do a few moments of this before we do the dedication. Then on page 14 is the dedication. So let's do the dedication together. Yeah? I dedicate this merit to all my own mother sentient beings of the 6 realms. By this merit, may I achieve the all-knowing state. May all who wander on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara by defeating enemies of faults and delusions. Through this accumulation of precious merit dedicated to all migratory beings, may they never be separated from the sublime Dharma. By myself and others perfectly realizing the 2 benefits, may the melodious beat of the Dharma drum beautify this world. May the spread of the Buddhist doctrine ever increase. May all sentient beings be blissful and happy. May they practice the Dharma through the day and night. May the 2 benefits of self and others be spontaneously accomplished. In all lifetimes, may I never be separated from the perfect gurus, but enjoy the richness of the glorious Dharma. Having thoroughly perfected the exalted qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. Nathan, do you have the opening and dedication text that we're using? Nathan?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you now lead the dedication from that text? Go ahead. Once you're ready.
Great Vajradhara, Tilipa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, Dharmalord Gampopa, Palmodrupa, and Conqueror Jagumpa. Please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessings of all you Gagyu Gurus. By this merit may I achieve the all-knowing state. May all who wander on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara by defeating enemies of faults and delusions. May the 80,000 classes of obstructors be pacified, thus freeing this place from unfavorable and harmful conditions. May harmonious and excellent endowments be established, and with this auspiciousness bring about bliss and happiness. May there be well-being in the world and good harvests, much yield of grain and flourish of dharma. May auspiciousness be established in all places, and all that is wished for fulfilled. May the collection of favorable conditions and resources for the dharma, for ourselves and others, be fulfilled according to our wishes. May the multitudes of diseases, evil spirits, obstructors, hindrances, and others be appeased and pacified. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. By the blessings of the Buddhas who have attained the three kayas, by the blessings of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessings of the indivisible Sangha order, may these dedication and aspiration prayers be accomplished. May the teachings of the great Jagumpa Ratnashri, the all-knowing Dharma Lord, Master of Interdependence, continue to increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. I think you're still muted now.
You're muted.
So with this, we have completed the 6 sessions that we have scheduled for learning this compassion meditation of Avalokiteshvara. Are very auspicious also. Today, the interdependence of it's the solstice. So in the Northern Hemisphere, many of us are in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the summer solstice. In the Southern Hemisphere, such as Jose in Chile, is the winter solstice. So see all this, interdependent and relative nature of experience, we think, oh, summer solstice. Well, the entire Southern Hemisphere is the winter solstice coming up today. So it's auspicious that we end today. Then one thing to say, a few things I want to say. One is there will be an opportunity to do a longer program with this particular practice. I just gave some dates to a retreat center called the Southern Dharma Retreat Center. Southern Dharma Retreat Center. This is a local retreat center about an hour away. Of course, up until recently, all the retreats there are, you come to the retreat center, you drive up into the mountains, you stay for a number of days. The last few years, I have been doing a retreat annually there. And some of you, I met you from there. And some of you have gone there as a result of meeting me somewhere else. So because of the pandemic, then they have turned these retreats into virtual online retreats. So they're basically home retreats, but following a schedule very similar to what you will be following if you were at the retreat. So I think to be realistic, I would say, unless you are more or less in the time zone that I am in North Carolina, this program is probably not going to work so well, especially if you're on the other side of the world. So look out, go to their website, Southern Dharma Retreat Center. I think not listed yet, but September 17th to the 20th is where the retreat is. So that you have to register. They control the Zoom or whatever platform access that they use. So you register with them. And then I think it's limited to 30 people. So then for that program, basically it's going to be what we have been doing, but you get the experience of, 4 days. So you have to, if you have to work, you have to take leave from work. It will be Thursday, Thursday afternoon, starting at around 5, I believe. Then Friday full day, Saturday full day, and then Sunday ends by around noon. So there's one opportunity to do, from beginning to end, about 4 days to deepen your practice and to understand more this practice. So there's that opportunity coming up. Then in terms of what Urban Dharma is offering, what we will continue for a while is the Lojong series every Thursday evening. Then on my own, those of you who are studying with me the Gongchik and practicing the Guru Puja, we continue Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. We'll continue in that study. Then maybe later, we'll see. Some other series might be offered at Urban Dharma virtually. Then at some point, when things, when the situation is more under control and people are comfortable traveling again, then I hope to see some of you in person at different places. You can, of course, also come to Asheville, or you can come meet somewhere else. Places right now that I tend to have a rotation of teaching is within the US. Well, Southern Dharma was one place, but within the US, really the only place on a consistent basis that I go to is Little Rock in Arkansas, because of the Ecumenical Buddhist Society of Little Rock, Arkansas, adopted me very kindly a few years ago. And so annually I go there. And now I'm starting to also go there more than annually. So that's one place. Then further away is outside of the US. Nowhere else in the US wants me, so I'm quite free in the US in that sense. Then further away from the US would be Mexico and Guatemala. Mexico, I've not done any teachings yet, actually. I've just gone to eat tacos. So whether teachings or tacos, somehow we will meet in Mexico soon enough, I hope. Then Guatemala also adopted me a while back. And then Ecuador and Peru, also on a regular basis, I try to go. Then when I go back to Asia, principally to see my parents, see my family, then I also meet with a group there, mostly in Penang. So people say, oh, you travel a lot, you go to many places. Actually, no, these are just a handful of places that I have a teaching ongoing relationship with. But I think with the pandemic and with all of this, we have all discovered how useful meeting virtually can be. I think before that, we always thought, oh, it's not the real thing. But I think, reality, perception of reality, all of that, is so interdependent, it's changing. Yeah? So likewise with the issue of empowerment, can you receive it virtually or not and all that? I think that, like whatever objections people have, yes, they have good reasons to object. But at the same time, I think if we really understand the Dharma, there's no need to fight over any of these things. We relate to it. Everything is mind, Buddha say, right? Everything is projection of mind. So the interdependence that comes from that. So understanding interdependence is so important. And then practicing bodhicitta, absolute and relative bodhicitta. Much for humoring me, for making me feel like, oh, I'm loved. Look, all these people turn up. So that is, my fortune. So I hope this has been useful to you. This has been helpful. So these 6 classes is available for review and for you to share with other people too on the YouTube channel that we have created, Drikung Dharma Kirti Circle. So that you go there and look for the playlist that says Avalokiteshvara. Then all these 6 classes are available. Then you can share it with others. Yeah. And then, of course, if you have interest in kind of continuing in some form beyond the Lojong, and you would like to check out the Gongchik class, which I keep saying to people, it's quite technical, but actually to me it's very meaningful. The Gongchik, it's such a treasure to me. But I'm not here to recruit. I'm just here to say, if you're interested in that, we're happy to give you the information as well. So,
Dr. Lai?
Yeah, okay.
I would like to add something. Sorry to interrupt you.
Sure. I'm done.
Okay.
Good to interrupt. Otherwise, I keep going on and on.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Fabiola, and I live here in Nashville. So I have the blessing of being able to go to Urban Dharma quite often when it's open. So we've gone virtually. And I just wanted to share with all of you that at the end of a teaching, we usually have the opportunity of doing a kata offering to Dr. Lai, right? Normally this would be in person, but we can still do it virtually. And in our tradition, we can offer dana or make a kata offering for our teacher, appreciating his time, dedication, and the benefit that the Dharma has in our life. So if you feel inclined to do an offering to Dr. Lai, I have posted the details on the chat where you can send him an offering via PayPal or Venmo or Zelle, or possibly even a check to Urban Dharma. If anybody needs help with this, I'll be glad to help you with the technical aspects.
Or you can
thank you very much.
Or you can just visualize it too.
So thank you very much, Dr. Lai, for this series.
Then if I don't receive your visualization, you can say, it's your mind that is the problem. Thank you for that reminder. We have, it's not something that, is very kind of naturally comfortable to talk about. But yes, Dharma can exist, Dharma teachers can exist due to interdependence as well. Some of us have easier means of, maintaining a life, doing things. And some of us have it harder. Mine is neither hard nor easy. Truthfully, mine is neither hard nor easy. The easy part is made easy because of people supporting and trusting. The hard part is laziness that constantly takes over, and procrastination, which is my own stuff. But I also want to remind all of you that most of you have also local Dharma centers that you go to. Don't forget to take care of that. You have to nurture that. You have to grow that. So take care of your local Dharma center. Support your own local Dharma center, because that is where we can carry out Bodhisattva activities. At least one place, not the only place. So please don't forget that. So anything else? Now it's time to kind of socialize a little bit. Of course, you have to go, please go. Today is the last session, so we're going to let it bleed over a little bit in case anybody has anything to say or complaints or,
Maybe not a complaint, but just a suggestion in the Lojong teachings. The Lojong teachings.
When they start with, it's not a complaint.
No, it's actually a suggestion, because when the Lojong teachings last session, you were talking about giving and receiving and how wisdom and compassion are these two sides, which has been part of this. At some point, I don't know if you remember, you said maybe later on we could do a teaching where we can practice balancing both sides. Mm-hmm. So just asking for that, I guess, is what I'm doing. If just putting it out there, if you can do that to continue this.
Yeah. If I can remember. That comes from principally, you know, I can talk to no end, as you all know, you know, like I can sit here and talk for the next few hours. But I'm recognizing more and more, you know, that me talking, you know, in the end, not so beneficial. Each of us should try to practice it. Do not be afraid of making mistakes, because it is by making mistakes that we learn, just like child development, you know. Give the child, you know, good protection, but trust the child to discover what is detrimental, what is dangerous, and let them make those mistakes. Then they become independent and well-rounded much earlier. There are different models of child development and raising children, and likewise in guiding others on the path. There are some great lamas who, their disciples, literally, I was just talking to a friend, and this is not the first time I've heard of this, talking about some great lama. His students literally would call and ask, should I get a male cat or a female cat? Now, I'm not exaggerating. And I'm going to get a car. Should it be black or should it be gray? That degree of like relying. And these lamas will answer, you know. But I can tell you that's never going to be my style. Maybe I have been westernized, you know. I say, you go figure it out, you know. I will help as much as I can. But my role is to make my role obsolete. From the start of Urban Dharma, I said, you know, may we close this as soon as possible. Of course, not literally, you know. When we finally don't need the Dharma Center, means we are all free now. So the means should not become the end. Neither the teacher, nor the Dharma Center, nor even the Dharma should become an end unto itself. And sometimes in emphasizing the preciousness of the teacher, the teachings, the Dharma Center, we put, you know, even that things before people. Then that's, I think, a little upside down. Yeah. Good.
Yay.
Okay. Yay, yay. Ta-ta.
Muchas gracias.
Oh, one word.
Bye.
One word. For those of you on Facebook who know, who are friends with Kempo Nima Dondrup, I don't know how many of you are. If you are Facebook friends with Kempo Nima Dondrup, you might want to drop him a message and thank him for giving this particular empowerment and this particular practice at Urban Dharma a little while back. So this comes from him. And Kempo Nima Dondrup is a Kempo in the Nyingma tradition, a very old and dear friend of mine. We have known each other for a long, long time. When I was in graduate school, I first met him. At that time, he was in Kempo, you know, I was in Dorje Lopan, and we met each other a long time ago, and we have been friends since. And the last time he came to Urban Dharma, I requested this particular practice, and he very kindly gave it to us here, and now I'm sharing it with you. Yeah. So, okay, tata.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you very much.
you.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Terima kasih.